Well, good morning, everyone. Um, Welcome and thanks for joining today morning. Another beautiful day. So again, I would like to start with again, right motivation, good motivation for being here. Okay. Make yourself comfortable, relax. See if you can let go of any stiffness, tension in the body and mind. And try to keep your back straight. Always helps to be more alert. And keep your focus or attention to the breath, watching it mindfully. And trying to keep your mind with the breath in moment present. If you find your mind wandering off, always bring back to, you can always bring back to the breath. So once your mind has settled down, then we can contemplate. As long as we have too strong self-centeredness, selfish attitude, nobody can make us happy. No matter how others try to make you happy, everything they try, we will not be able to satisfy that strong selfish attitude, the self-centeredness. Due to that, we will always find some faults in others. We will always find someone to blame for everything bad things happen in our life. Thereby bringing suffering to ourselves and bringing suffering to others. On the other hand, less selfish, less self-centered, the more space and open your heart is. More spacious and open your heart is. In that open and spacious mind and heart, give you more peace, more joy. We can feel more kind, compassion to others. See less fault in others, less blaming others. Thereby, it brings more peace, happiness in our self and to others. Therefore, I must try to reduce that selfish attitude, that self-centeredness as much as possible. For the happiness of others and happiness of myself. To do that, I must train my mind to practice through practice meditations. And for that, I must continue to learn, study. Therefore, I'm listening to the talk, the teachings, not only listen, but again, whatever helpful that I find from those talk teachings that I will try to integrate as much as possible in my everyday life. So I can reduce that selfish attitude, the self-centeredness. May all of us coming here together to listen, to talk, to engage in discussions, reflecting, contemplating. May all of this become cause and conditions to awaken our mind and to achieve our highest potential, the fully awakened state. So we can be greatest help, benefit to all other sentient beings and oneself. Okay.
Taking refuge and generating bodhicitta once in English and twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodan soki chonam la chanchu bardu dagni kapsuchi dagi chonen ge pe sognam gi drola penshir sangye drupa sho sangye chodan soki chonam la chanchu bardu dagni kapsuchi Dagi chonen ge pe nam gi drola penshir sange drupar sho.
So we just have started this particular powerful mind training text, and which is known as 7 point of mind training. And we just kind of finished the first point of the mind training about training in the preliminary. We are in the second point of the mind training, which is known as training to, to develop or generate the awakening mind or the body mind. And in that, it has two sections, training to generate conventional awakening mind and ultimate awakening mind. And we will start with the conventional awakening mind. So in Buddhist teachings, writings, you find, mainly two different meditation techniques to develop that awakening mind, which we went through more detail when we went through the Lamrim. One is known as equalizing, exchanging self with others, that particular technique. And then the others, 7 point of cause and effect, those two different techniques that you find. So we use those techniques to generate or cultivate that awakening mind of the bodhicitta. So going to the text itself, and here it says, banish the one to blame for everything. In other translations, drive all blames into one. And that seems a little more easy, Drive all blames into one. So what it means is, in our life, we experience a lot of challenges, difficulties. It's part of our life. Sometimes physical challenges, illness, physical discomfort, sometimes mental, emotional, mental pain, sufferings, with all kind of different feelings, with all kind of different emotions, sadness, grief, bitter, resentment, anger, fear, feeling of being cheated, deceived, all kind of different mental, emotional thoughts, feeling arises, at a different time. So again, that is part of life that we all go through. Sometimes people, criticize us for whatever reasons. Sometimes people look down on us, sometimes they don't respect, they offend, sometimes they might, not treat us very well, So when those things happen, and then on top of that, then, sometimes we have so many things happening in our life, our loved ones, in the life of loved ones, near ones, sometimes due to climate changes, floods, earthquakes, fires, wind, tornadoes, whatever, different hurricane, due to all of that, then again, there is a lot of pain, suffering, challenges. So when those things happen, our normal habitual way of responding mentally, emotionally, or mentally is to find someone to blame. So we tend to blame someone when things goes wrong, when things doesn't go well in our life. We tend to blame someone else. And by blaming there, then again, anger arises, hatred arises, ill will feelings, bitter feelings arises. Through all those feelings, then we suffer. We suffer, and because we blame others, also they suffer. So everyone suffer because of that kind of response or reactions. So here, what he's saying, the training here is saying, instead of blaming someone for all of that, we should blame everything into one, and that is, the self-grasping, ignorant, and selfish attitude. Even though everything is not inherent existence, but not realizing that, we hold and grasp everything to exist inherently, including yourself. On the basis of grasping the self inherently, then we, have that strong selfish attitude, the self-centeredness. Due to that strong selfish attitude, self-centeredness, then, created a lot of negative karma actions. And having hurt and harm others as a consequences of such actions, now it turned back to us. As we talk, what goes around comes around. What do you sow, it grows. So the reasons others are acting in a certain way, or the way we are experiencing, is because of how we have engaged in similar action in the past is coming back. And those actions, those harmful actions, negative karma that we have created, is because of that selfish attitude and self-grasping ignorance. So if there is anything to blame on, then it is that, the self-grasping, ignorance, selfish attitude. That is the root of all the problem, is the root of all the conflict, is the root of all the sufferings. By that understanding, then we try to put more effort in trying to reduce that selfish attitude and that self-grasping ignorance as much as possible, by understanding this is the very root of every unfortunate, painful sufferings that I'm experiencing because of that. With that understanding, it is reminding us all the time, oh, you need to reduce that selfish attitude, the self-grasping ignorance. If you don't reduce that, due to that, you will continue to hurt and harm others. And by hurting and harming others, as a similar result, again, you will continue to experience similar unwanted pain and suffering in the future. So is, instead of blaming outside to someone there, we try to blame the selfish attitude, the self-centeredness, the self-grasping ignorance. And it's not blaming yourself, because you are not the selfish attitude. You are not the self-grasping ignorance. So again, I think this is very important to differentiate, okay? You don't blame yourself, but you blame your selfish attitude, the self-grasping ignorance. Just as you don't blame someone else, nor you blame yourself. But to whom you blame is your selfish attitude, the self-centeredness. So that is Because when you have that kind of strong selfish attitude, our mind becomes very uptight. When our mind is uptight, then you begin to see others' fault. Anything that go wrong, someone else fault, others fault all the time. So and then we reacting that. By reacting that, it hurt others, it hurt yourself, others suffer, yourself suffers. Instead, we pause. Why are things happening? Why are things going wrong in my life? Why are things happening? The way it is happening now. Why are things not going so well? The way things are not going well in whatever way. Try to contemplate. It is because of your own actions, which is rooted in that selfish attitude, such actions. The others, external, are just one of small conditions, contributing factors. The main one is our own actions and our own negative karma. And the root of that negative karma, the selfish attitude. So understanding that, and thereby putting all your energies to reduce that selfish attitude, that self-grasping ignorance. Instead of putting all energy to destroy the external enemy, we try to work to destroy the internal enemy. When there is no more internal enemy, there is no more external enemy. As long as there is the internal enemy, there will always be external enemy. You will always find external enemy. So that is whole practice is really working with your own mind. Really, man is working with your mind to reduce and destroy those negative emotions, such as and the selfish attitude here. Okay, I think maybe that is. So you pause and then try to look inside, look inside and trying to understand the deeper cause of such situations, circumstances, to go much deeper than just trying to point to the, small contributing factors, but not the root cause. So we learn to go to the root cause and try to work with the root cause. And that is the selfish attitude. So that is one with that, the advice, the meditations. Because this selfish attitude or the self-centeredness is not only root of your suffering and suffering of others, but also it is the main obstacle or interference to develop the awakening mind of the Bodhisattva. As long as you have that strong selfish attitude, self-centeredness, you cannot develop the awakening mind of the Bodhisattva. So therefore, we put all effort trying to reduce and destroy that selfish attitude, the self-centeredness. Okay. And then next, in the text, the verse says, meditate on the great kindness of all beings. Then we also try to contemplate and meditate on the kindness of all sentient beings. For those who want to achieve awakening, for those who wish to achieve awakening mind and awakening state, the enlightened beings, such as the Buddhas and the sentient beings, are equally kind. Because you have to rely on other sentient beings to achieve that awakening state. Without the other sentient beings, there's no way you can achieve that awakening state. So for someone who has that wish to achieve that awakening, as Shantideva said, the kindness of the Buddhas and the kindness of sentient beings is equal. And therefore, as Shantideva said, when they play equal role in your awakening, how can you treat those two objects so differently? You treat the enlightened beings with such a respect, regard so highly, and then you treat sentient beings so badly. You treat sentient beings so badly. How can one do? So just as you respect and regard other sentient beings, the Buddhas, the enlightened beings, highly, hold them with great respect. Same way we should treat. The training here is to treat each and every sentient being same way, respect, regarding highly, by remembering, by recollecting their contribution, their kindness in leading us to becoming more awakening and to achieve fully awakened state. Mm. Also, the mother says, also all beings are kind, From Buddhist point of view, everyone has been our most kind mother so many times. And each time when they have been so kind, they have given so much. So much. And again, we don't need to go detail, but we can again contemplate all the hardship they go through or upbringing of you, sacrificing their own goal, their own happiness for your well-being and your upbringing, So again, if we start talking, then it can be long. So just, we don't need to go each of them. Again, if you are interested, you read Lumbrim, and there is very detailed on those, to contemplate on that, the kindness, and by understanding how each and every being has been kind so many times, even when they are not being mothers, but also by understanding every comfort, every happiness, every joy that we experience come through the kindness and contribution of others every day in our life. The joy, the comfort that we experience by being able to eat, able to drink, able to have a shelter, to sleep in a comfortable bed, to have this, to keep warm, to keep cool when it's too hot, and to be able to travel from one place to another place, to be able to have education, to be able to have a job, to be able to get what we need, or, all of them, again, without others' contributions, without kindness, we will not be able to have all of that. Without that, then again, we will not be able to have the whatever pleasure, comfort that we experience in this life. Whether it's a physical comfort and pleasure, or whether it's a mental peace and happiness, all again come through the kindness and contributions of others. Without that, there's no way. Also, yeah. Even those who make our life difficult and not easy, because of their such actions, behavior that make our life more challenging, more difficult, not so easy. It allows us to grow, to learn, When everything's easy, where you don't have to work hard, you don't learn, you don't grow. But when you are put into challenging circumstances, by whatever, by others or by natural, when you are put into difficult situations, challenging situations, and through that, when you put effort to overcome that, you learn how to overcome that. You learn how to get over it. Through that, all of that, you begin to be more stronger. You begin to learn more. You begin to develop more as a human beings, as a spiritual practice. That's where, as the Katamba master says, I think it will come later too. Whether you are a good spiritual practitioner or not, or practitioner of great mind training or not, you will put into the sport when you are put in the difficult, challenging situation, how you respond to that. How you respond to the difficult, challenging, that will show how good practitioner you are, how you respond to that. Whether you respond negatively, as normal, we have no training, or would you respond more positively towards that? More healthy way. And so therefore, and to be able to reach a point where you are able to respond healthy, positively to all different challenges, difficulties, circumstances, experiences, is that you are able to do because you have trained, practice. You are able to train and practice because you had the opportunity to train and practice, because you were given such opportunity or had that situation to deal with. And therefore, from that perspective, then you begin to see the kindness of them to make your life more difficult, not easy. At the moment, it's hard for us to feel that way. It's hard for us to feel compassion for someone who's trying to make your life difficult and not easy. We can feel compassion of someone who tried to make our life easy, isn't it? Someone who is trying to make our life easy, good, it's easy to feel compassion of them. And, response in a similar way. But it's extremely hard for us at the moment to feel compassion of someone who is making or trying to make your life not easy, difficult. But again, when someone has trained in these mind trainings, these teachings, when someone has put those teachings into the practice, who truly practice these teachings, put into practice, for them, they feel equally kindness of such beings, or even more kindness of them, those who make you, trying to make you difficult, make your life difficult. So that is, so that is where, so through that, then we try to contemplate and try to feel the kindness of each and every sentient beings, especially those who make our life not so easy, because it's most difficult to feel kindness of them. Mm. And that is the story of some of the great practitioners, Geshe Langri, who composed 8 verses of mind training. This one is more commentary to that. And Geshe Langri was accused of something very bad which he didn't do. And then based on that misinformation, a lot of people criticize him, saying bad things. But if every time he hears someone criticize him, someone talking bad about him, accusing him, because he's someone who have really practiced these teachings, he feel the kindness of them and compassion for them. He really feel kindness of them, compassion for them. Compassion for them because they are creating negative karma. Kindness because they are giving him great opportunity to put what he have learned into practice. And that he is having this opportunity to practice now. So every time he hear, he will send a gift and present to them. Is there anyone who is thinking of doing that? You let me know, then I will keep on criticizing so I can give more gifts. Let me know, okay? So that is when someone really take this teaching in really practice, that is how they really feel. That is how they really feel the kindness of them. Because they feel the kindness of them, then they want to repay the kindness by sending a gift. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Lama Sopa Rinpoche also, he shares stories, I think when Rinpoche was still quite young, not very, very young, but like earlier, where someone, kind of looked down in Rinpoche, put him down, look him down, and then, Rinpoche felt, again, compassion and kindness of that. Rinpoche felt very compassion and same time kindness of that this person is giving me this great opportunity to practice these Lojongs, the mind trainings that I have studied and learned, giving me this now great opportunity to put into practice. So he felt very the kindness of that. And Rinpoche really says he really felt that he wanted to send some gift. at that moment. But Rinpoche says then after some time he forgot. So he didn't have time to send a gift because he forgot. But in that moment, at that time, he really felt he wanted to send some gift. Why? By feeling the kindness of that. So it seems very difficult for us at the moment because we are not trained. When you are not trained, when you are not trained, everything looks difficult. But when you train, then everything looks easy, whether it's physical or whether it's mental. And for those, Lojong practitioners, true Lojong practitioner, for them, then one can feel that kindness. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Instead of feeling angry, upset, hatred, but actually you feel kindness and compassion. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Even you're just on your mental peace. Forget about all other things. Enlightenment, helping others, even your own mental peace. I would rather have compassion and feeling of kindness of someone than to feel so angry, so upset, so hateful. So that is where this, these meditations and practice is training the mind and learning and training the mind to focus on the kindness of others. Focus on the kindness of others. If you feel kindness, easy to feel compassion. If you feel angry, it's very hard to have compassion. It's not possible. So, training the mind to see the kindness of even in such actions and behavior, that contributes towards making your life not so easy but more difficult. So that is the training here. So training mind to see the kindness of others is the basis. By when you are able to see the kindness of others and when you are able to feel the kindness of others, it makes much easier to develop compassion to that person. It become more easy to feel loving kindness to that things. And when you have loving kindness and compassion, then it's easy to develop the awakening mind of bodhicitta, because the loving kindness and compassion is the basis or the root of the awakening mind, of the bodhicitta. So here, that is, so here you do 2 trainings, and you can do alternately, on one way, we try to meditate, contemplate on the shortcoming and the harmfulness and negative effect of that selfish attitude, self-centeredness. Because that selfish attitude, self-centeredness, is the obstacle to develop compassion, to develop true compassion. Therefore, one will always try to meditate on how this selfish attitude, self-centered, is hurting me, hurting others, how is harming me, harming others, how is hurting, harming in short term, long terms, how it is the root of every problem, every conflict, every suffering. And through that understanding, by contemplating, meditating, and having a total conviction, yes, this is the one. This selfish attitude is the very root of all of that. Once you really feel and have conviction in that, then you will put more effort to not allow yourself in the state of that selfish attitude, self-centered, instead trying to reduce them as much as possible. Trying to reduce them as much as possible, trying to overcome them as much as possible. At the moment, we don't have that total, insight, the total convictions. Sometimes we feel maybe is, but sometimes no, it's nothing to do with my nothing to do with my selfish attitude. It's their fault. It's his fault. Or other excuse. Oh, then if I think that way, then I'm allowing that person to do this, continue to do this and this. I'm allowing that. These are all excuses. If you really see, we have all this kind of excuse why it's nothing to do with my selfish attitude, nothing to do with my self-centeredness. But if you go deeply, it is. They are the primary root cause, conditions, contributing factors, and they are temporary supportive conditions, and other can be supportive conditions. Someone's actions, the climate, nature can be kind of, but the main cause, the root cause is that. And so again, so that you try to meditate on that. On the other hand, then you try to meditate on the kindness of others. By doing that together, while you try to meditate on kindness of others and feel the kindness of others, on the other hand, you try to meditate on the harmfulness, the shortcoming of the selfish attitude, and thereby trying to reduce that. And with that, then, it becomes easy, more easy to develop true compassion and loving kindness. So that is where training. As part of that training here, then next, certain practice. Practice a combinations of giving and taking. Giving and taking should be practiced alternately. So this is talking about the practice of what we know as Tonglen in Tibetan. Tonglen. Tong means, giving or sending. Len means taking. So taking and giving, the practice of Tonglen. And the practice of Tonglen is again very powerful meditation technique to cultivate true loving kindness and compassion, and to cultivate and to, to develop and to make it the loving kindness and compassion more stronger and stronger. So that is the so in general, in these meditations, like when you train the mind, I think it's the same with when you are training physical. You start with the easy one. When you're training, you start with the easy exercise. Whether you are doing yoga posture or whether you are training to be athlete, whatever, you start with the easy and then slowly you started to expand more difficult and more difficult. Same in training our mind. We try to start with the easy one. So in that meditations, you think of someone where you can feel loving kindness, compassion more easy. So whoever that might be, your most dear loved one. You can think of that person in front of you, think and contemplate their pain, their sufferings, and then, try to feel their pain and sufferings. So you first try to think of their pain and sufferings, and then you try to feel their pain and sufferings. And once you feel their pain and suffering, then, you can think, that you are taking all their pain and suffering, as well as the cause of all those pain and suffering on yourself. On yourself. So when you do that, not just feeling I'm imagining, but you actually really think I'm really taking them on. I'm really taking on them. Is in your mind, you shouldn't be thinking I'm just imagining. Okay? But when you are doing that, you try to think I'm really taking their pain and sufferings and causing all the suffering myself. And think, imagine, visualize their pain and suffering taken on yourself. They are being relief of that, completely relief, and it all taken on yourself, by yourself, And if you start feeling something uncomfortable, some pain, whatever, something, try to generate joy in that. Oh, I've been able to take that pain. That's why I'm experiencing the pain. Feeling joyful for that. Instead of I'm imagining and then now, oh, it is coming. I shouldn't do it. I'm now something's happening. Maybe the problem really came. Do you get it? Oh, maybe the suffering actually really came. I thought I was just imagining. Now I think maybe suffering really came. Now I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable and a little painful. Not that way, but actually, when you do, you really try to be effective of this practice. Not just I'm imagining, but I'm really taking. And then if something happens, as though you are experiencing that, then you feel joyful in that you see the success of the practice. This is something you wanted to happen and is happening. So that is taking. And giving, again, you try to, with that same person, you can think of, the joy, happiness they want, different level of joy, happiness, physical, mental comfort, peace, joy, and happiness, whatever, So again, you imagine sending all your happiness, all your positive qualities, all your virtues, all of them, sending into the object whatever they need to be happy, temporary ultimate happiness. And they receive that. You send all your happiness and all the cause of happiness. You send all your virtues, all the positive quality that you can share, that you can send, and cause of them, you send all of them to them. And then, them receiving that. And then, again, not just imagine you are really sending, you are really giving. And they receive, and they really receive all the happiness, temporary to ultimate happiness, and cause of temporary and ultimate happiness. And again, if you feel that some of your happiness, some of your virtues has been gone, send it. Again, feeling joyfulness that, oh, wonderful. Now it seems it's really gone. I've really sent it, and they have really received. again, experience the joyfulness in that. So that is what you train your mind, doing that. And when you are good at it, as you started to feel familiar with practice, you become familiar and good, then you expand to someone stranger, Same practice, same meditations. And then as you train yourself, and then you started to feel also comfortable and to do that with that, then you do to someone who is most difficult, your enemy. Whether we call it enemy or not, but someone you dislike most, someone you have strong aversion, dislike, anger, whatever, that person, you think of that person's, again, their pain, suffering. Again, try to take their pain and sufferings and give them your happiness and all your virtues and cause of virtues and happiness. So that is, and then you expand to all sentient beings. Then you imagine the whole, every living beings, all sentient beings. And then you think of their pain and suffering and taking all their pain and suffering and cause of their pain and suffering on yourself. And then sending and giving all your happiness, all your virtues, all your positive qualities, energies, and the cause of all the happiness to each of them, to each and every sentient being. That is the training. So here, giving and taking should practice alternately means sometimes you do the taking and sometimes you do the giving. First you do the taking and then you do the giving, And so that is training your mind. At the very beginning, we can have fear, we can have resistance. At the very beginning, there might be some fear could arise, or some kind of doubt, resistance. Am I kidding myself? Am I just imagining myself? Is this really? So all these kind of can arise, but if you keep on doing the practice over the time, you will be able to overcome the fear, any kind of resistance, any kind of doubt. And when you are able to do the practice without that kind of fear, resistance, doubt, then the practice becomes really, really powerful. And through that practice, then, you started to feel compassion for them. The compassion is that you really feel that you want to free them from the suffering and cause of sufferings. You really want to help them to free from suffering and cause of suffering. Loving kindness is when you really feel, that you want to help them to have happiness and cause of happiness. Through such, this is a meditation technique that helps to develop true love, compassion, bodhicitta. True love and compassion, as well as if we already have compassion and loving kindness, to maintain it, to improve, to enhance, to make it strong. Same meditation technique can be very helpful for someone who have not already developed loving kindness and awaken compassion, as well for someone who has already developed, so that their loving kindness and compassion can be sustained, maintained, not only sustained, maintained, so it becomes more stronger, more powerful, so on. So that is meditation that you try to do. And especially it can be very powerful when you are dealing with your own pain. Of course, you can do this meditation every day, all the time, part of meditation on compassion, loving kindness. But also, especially when we are dealing with our own pain, you are dealing with your physical pain, and then you try to think, I'm the not only one who is dealing with this physical pain. There are so many other beings, human, non-humans, animals, other beings, who are experiencing the same physical challenge, the pain like me. Some of them much worse than myself. Some of them much more worse than myself. So through your own pain, you try to feel the pain of others who are going through similar or worse. And then again, you imagine, visualizing that I'm taking all their pain, sufferings, that particular pain and suffering of that physical challenge, that physical illness on myself, so that, and cause of all of them on yourself. And then feeling I'm experiencing on behalf of them of all their pain and suffering by me going through that. May no one has to experience such pain. No one has to experience that. May I be able to experience on behalf of them. May this, what I'm experiencing, become cause them to be free from all those pain and sufferings. And then rejoice. This pain has been meaningful because I'm able to take others' pain and sufferings. Thereby this, going through this pain has been meaningful. There is purpose and meaning in that. And you do same, whether you are experiencing mental pain, suffering, same way. Whether you are experiencing any other problem, finance, relationship, all different kind of conflict. Due to whatever, you recognize your pain, you feel your pain, and that recognizing and feeling your pain, allowing you to expand beyond your own pain and suffering, and to realize there are so many others who are experiencing similar and much worse. And on the basis of that feelings, understanding others' pain and similar or worse pain and suffering, and feeling just like your own pain and suffering, and then taking on yourself all those pain, suffering, and cause of all them on yourself. And then, may I be able to experience on their behalf. May no one has to experience that, And then also, again, rejoicing that me going through this is meaningful. And then you send all your happiness, all your virtues to them. Okay, so that is, when you do that, then again, it helps you to feel compassion for others. It helps you to develop loving kindness to others. At the same time, you do not become so occupied with your own problem and your pain. When you become so occupied with your own pain, it becomes more unbearable. It becomes more stronger. It feels like you started to feel it is the biggest problem in the world. You started to feel this is the worst problem in the world, that what you are going through. And when you feel this is the worst thing that is happening in my life or to me, then one can feel too big, overwhelming. But when you use that your own feeling of pain to understand the pain of others, and even much worse than yourself, you begin to feel, oh, my problem is not so big. One, I'm the not only one who is going through that. Secondly, I'm not experiencing the worst compared to others who are going through what? My problem, my pain is very small. And when you feel that, then it doesn't become overwhelming. It doesn't become overwhelming. The feeling is there, the pain is there, but it feels much lighter, much more manageable, that you feel that I can manage that. I can deal with that. I can overcome that. You feel much more lighter, and that also gives you more positive state of mind, hope, more positive. And with that kind of more hope, positive mind, you can be able to deal better, to overcome that, And then next verse, it says, and you should begin by taking from yourself. If someone has difficulty of doing this practice, taking the pain and suffering from others, then at the very beginning, you can do it yourself. You think of your sufferings of future suffering, and then you take on yourself now, so that you don't have to experience those suffering in the futures by experiencing now. So you can imagine yourself in front of you and all the future challenges, pain, suffering that could manifest. You can think of all that and then think of that, taking on all of that now on yourself. And when you started to feel good at that and better at that, and then you can explain to someone, close one, dear one. But if you don't have difficulty with starting from someone very close, difficult, then you can start from there. But this is for someone who might have a little bit more difficult at the very beginning to start from someone, even someone who is a loved one, difficult one, then you want to start from yourself. So that is, and then it says, those two should be made to write on the bread. So what it means is, in order to make this practice, what do you call, more to help the practice, sometimes using the breath can be helpful. In that sense, when you are taking the pain, when you are taking the breath in, when you breathe in, you imagine taking all other suffering and cause of suffering in the form of black kinds of energies, that come with the breath that you breathe in. And then you go through your nostril, your let's say through your left nostril. It doesn't have to be, but from nostril, and then you go through the nose into your heart, and you can imagine selfish attitude, black spot there, and then destroying that selfish attitude. Each time you take the suffering and cause of suffering on others, as you breathe in, and then you're destroying that selfish attitude and transforming that selfish attitude into the loving kindness and compassion. And then when you breathe out, you visualize out of that loving kindness and compassion, then you send all your happiness, all your virtues, and the cause of all the happiness and virtues in the form of white light, together with the breath as you breathe out. And then as the breath go out, then it dissolves into the persons that you are thinking of. And then they receive all the happiness, all the virtues, and the cause of all the virtue and happiness. So you can use the breath as a tool to this practice of online and taking, and for some it can be more powerful, more helpful to be able to use the breath as a tools to as a tool for the practice of taking and giving. So I think I will stop here today. Any questions regarding to this? Whether it's Yes, please. Yeah.
Hello, Susan. Yes, please unmute. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks today, Geshe. This last made about, sorry, I'm hearing an or is it okay?
You're cutting out a little bit.
Should I just try?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please try. Go for it.
This last point you made about the visualization with the breath, I remember learning this quite a long time ago. And I remember once driving in the street and there was a very bad car accident. And I just spontaneously started doing that for whoever was in this car accident. But the one piece you mentioned that I don't remember learning was about the black spot in your heart and that's about your selfish attitude. I just remember learning like breathing in their pain and then sending out the white light of your happiness or, healing for them. Can you explain that one point?
What you are doing is also fine. Just taking their pain, suffering, cause of suffering, and sending them the light, happiness, virtues. That is also just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Also, you find slightly different visualizations in relation to this practice. So, again, there are different way of doing it. Not always has to be the same way. So in one of those practices, as I mentioned, is that while you breathe in dark, heavy energies, which all their suffering and cause of suffering in the form of that, then your heart, you can visualize, in some scripture, they talk about like a selfish attitude in like a rock and then exploding it each time you go. I change it, modify a little bit for myself. I visualize that as a black spot with selfish attitude, more like ice. Each time that heavy, warm energies, the breath goes, it melts. Instead of exploding, even though, of course, even though it's not really explosions of really something solid, but even your mind sometimes plays, you feel uncomfortable. But with that kind of ice, in the form of ice, very, very, very powerful, strong ice in the dark, and each time you breathe in that, it melts and then destroy. So that is one. In some others commentaries that I've seen, I think is by Dugu Khyentse Rinpoche. He also talked about having like wish fulfilling jewels in your heart, and you take in all of that and enter that like kind of your heart like wish fulfilling jewel, and from that wish fulfilling jewel, then it comes everything whatever they want, and sending that. So there are slightly different kind of way of doing it. So I think whatever you feel more powerful, helpful, or you can try different at different times. So there is no contradiction to that. The man is kind of trying to really feel their pain and really taking their pain on yourself and really feel for them and to send the happiness. Okay.
Thank you. Can I clarify one more thing about that?
Yes, please.
I think the part I realized that was confusing to me about the black dot is in my mind, it was about them, like these people in the car accident, and I'm taking in that pain and I'm sending them good light. But then if I turned it into, I'm also destroying my own selfish attitude somehow in my mind, then that becomes about me. But I thought the point was to have it be about compassion for others. Maybe I'm confused, but
Yes. The man is taking their pain and suffering, but when you destroy your own selfish and attitude, you will be able to do more for them and truly,
uh, right. Okay, thank you.
So it is the less selfish we are, the more truly we are able to help others. So therefore, you know, to help others, not only help others, to help truly others without any kind of selfish attitude or without any conditions, expectations, then, reducing and destroying their selfish attitude become important. Yeah. Any others? Anyone has any? If not, then yeah, we do the dedication. It is not like, it's not a compulsory that someone has asked and it's time. Yeah. You don't have to feel that, oh, I have to ask, what should I ask? If you have a questions, ask it. And if you don't have it, then you don't have to force yourself to come with questions because you feel like you have to ask. Yeah. Then we can do the dedications. Yeah. Yes, please.
We'll take one more question. Thank you.
Geshe, is it similar to dedicating practice? The taking and receiving, can we also integrate that with when we dedicate practice for somebody else? Is there a similarity or?
Yeah, it's same. I think, of course, in dedication, we don't do these visualizations of sending and all of that. But basically, we are dedicating and sending or giving our virtues. So in that sense, there is similarity. The only things in here, not only you send, dedicate, but also that you visualize sending all of that. So you can integrate that also when you are doing dedications. Then your dedication becomes even more, you combine both together. Also, like when you do this can be integrated in many parts of the practice. For example, when you do the four immeasurable, also you can do the Tonglen in relation to that. You can combine the four immeasurable practice with Tonglen as well. And also when you do others, mantra recitation, also you can do Tonglen while you are doing that. So I think there are many places where you can integrate this practice. Yeah.
Master Shantideva, may all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And the long life prayer for His Holiness. Gangri Rawe Korwe Jinkan Dir Pendan Dewa Malu Jungwe Ne Chen Rei Zingwa Tenzin Gyatso Yi Jape Site Vardu Tengyur Chi.
Thank you, everyone. And again, I think we are celebrating and And congratulations for 2 of our Sangha members for taking the full ordinations recently. So
Okay.
and Venerable Tendub and Venerable Sangha. Funsok, yeah? Venerable Funsok? Yeah. Venerable Tendub and Venerable Funsok. And again, it's a step in the path to your spiritual journey, your spiritual path, and wish both of them and everyone's to be able to make progress and improvement in your spiritual path and journey, and closer and closer to awakening, fully awakened, fully enlightened. Maybe you are already fully awakened and fully enlightened, and I'm wishing something which you don't need it. But we can always wish all of that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.